Thank you, Brian. We just have such blessings. Let's give him some more love. So, as I've already stated, it's been established, it's April, right? So, it's April. I don't know about you, but is time going faster? I mean, honestly. I mean, next week is Palm Sunday. And then 2 weeks from today is Easter. Like, so it's speeded up, it feels like to me. But they also say time flies when you're having fun. So we must be having a lot of fun. So as you know, that we have been doing a study each month of one of the 12 powers or spiritual abilities that were formulated by co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, who studied the metaphysics of the Bible, and every person, place, and character and such things all represent something. And when he studied the 12 disciples, he said they all have a certain trait and a spiritual power or ability that we all have. But are we conscious of those abilities? Are we using them? So my goal this year is to spend time in each month focusing on a different power, and not just to learn about it, but to engage in it, to embody it, especially if I want to create a world that works for everyone and heaven on earth. That's how we do this. So we've studied 3 different powers thus far, and I know that you're using these, right? Oh, yeah, right? Come on, try this again. You're using these, right? Right. That's better. And I even heard people on the cyber sanctuary saying yes. So the first one that we learned about was imagination. Yes, check. The next one in February was check. And last month was faith. Excellent. So are you ready to hear what we're going to get into in April? Yes. Oh, there's a couple of you. I'll see you afterwards and tell you about it. You're really going to want to know about this power. Charles Fillmore said that this power is the executive faculty of the mind. The executive faculty means that it's what actually moves and gets everything else in action. It moves us in that way. So the power that we're going to be looking at this month is called will. Will. I'm going to be talking about will today, and there'll be little sections of it in the next 2 Sundays, but we're focusing on the holidays of Palm Sunday and Easter. And then on the 4th Sunday, we'll talk more about what God's will is, or willingness and willfulness and various other components. So we want to start, of course, with the definition of will. And this is found in the book called Power Up Your Life, which is a book on the 12 powers, which you can get in the online, what do you call it? Bookstore, right? So, will is the power to choose, decide, direct, and determine. Okay? So it's choosing, it's decide, direct, determine. And Myrtle Fillmore says, because we are spiritual beings with the freedom of choice, we can determine just what will come into our lives. So, there's different parts of the will, and in Power Up it talks about the underdeveloped will. Now, I know none of you have ever been wishy-washy or indecisive, and, what am I going to wear today? Where do I want to go? None of you, of course, have had that. But there are opportunities, of course, to be wishy-washy, right? Anyone? Well, I can't make up my mind. Then we have the other side of it, the other extreme, which is egocentric will. And that's where it's my way or the highway, right? It's got to be how I want it to be. Now, none of you, of course, have ever engaged in that either, right? Come on, we're real. Well, of course, we have our wishy-washy, indecisive moments, and moments where it's like, no, I want it this way. And gosh darn it, it's going to be that way, and it's controlling and bossy and all this. So that is from our ordinary consciousness. We have another consciousness, which is called the elevated consciousness. And that's where we make our decisions, direction, but we're coming from a mind that is more aligned with the truth. It is the divine principles and ideas that we want to learn about. And when we're making choices and decisions from that, things work better. So our greatest power, actually, we have a lot of powers, but our greatest power in all respects is the power of choice. You might say that the power of love, but it's the power to love, to choose to love. We have a power, and the fact is, we are choosing things all of the time. They say in the Power Up Your Life book, will is about our power of choice. The secret to living the life that you want, to get the most out of your earth experience, and to attract unbelievable happiness is to simply make the kind of choices that are life-affirming, positive, from our elevated highest consciousness. It's the director. It's like the part that says, action. Because otherwise everything just stays. But the will is the one that chooses what to think, what to say, what to do. Think about how many choices you make. Once you start thinking about it, you could be overwhelmed because you make choices from the time you get up. Yeah, you choose to drop your papers and make that okay. We make so many choices from the moment that we wake up in the morning. We make the choice to throw the covers over our head and hit the snooze button and snuggle in the covers more, right? Or we choose to get up. We choose what we're going to wear. We choose what we're having for breakfast. We choose what we're doing. We are at choice every single second of the day. It could be overwhelming to think, I'm making a choice, another choice, another choice. You could drive yourself batty, right? By realizing how much choice that you are making. And most of it is unconscious, okay? We don't really think, I have a choice here. It's kind of routine, and we do so many things by default, right? Think about it. Oh, I'm used to doing it this way. I'm used to going this route. And it's easier, of course, more convenient to just follow what you've always done. And you don't even realize that there's a choice there, that you could choose something different, except that we like to stay in the route of what we're doing, whether or not that is actually a healthy choice or not. See, we're always making choices. And to start wondering, is this the best choice? Are there other choices? This is what I'm feeding your mind this week to focus on. In fact, I have an intention that you are going to think about choices in a way that you have never done before. And it might drive you a little batty, but you will have gotten more conscious. That's the important thing, conscious of your life. Because we're either designing our life by design, or a life by default. You have a power to choose and do things differently. Linda Martelowitz said in her book, Divine Audacity. I can speak. Divine Audacity. In her book on the 12 powers, she breaks the component, the power of will, into 3 parts. And 2 of those I'll speak on today. And they both start with C. The first one, you've already probably heard the word choice, right? So the first C that we're going to look at out of the big 3 C's is choice. So here's a couple sillies for you. The executive was interviewing a young woman for a position in his family, well, maybe it was his family, in his company. He wanted to find something about her personally, so he asked, if you could have a conversation with anyone, living or dead, who would that be? And she said, I choose the living. Just saying, okay. Next one I'd share with you is a young woman was explaining to a friend why she decided to marry one man and not the other. And she said, when I was with John, I thought he was the cleverest person in the entire world. Friend said, well, why did you choose the other guy? Well, I chose Sam because when I'm with him, I'm the cleverest person in the world. right? The power to choose. You know, it's not just our ability and power to think, to build, to plan, but it's the power to choose is our greatest power. Every day we're making zillions. Now, zillions is a lot, right? Zillions of choices about our friends, who we hang out with, clothing, hairstyles, what we have as a furniture. We choose our interests, our exercise routine, what we like to do for fun. We're choosing. We're choosing machines all the time. Most importantly, though, is what we choose in our minds, because everything comes from our minds, our mental process. We choose our beliefs, our thoughts, and our attitudes, as well as how we see ourselves and how we see others. We make that choice. To sustain a life of wonderful things, we have to maintain positive thoughts. If I watched the news and didn't do any of this work for my own self, I would go down with the ship. It would be so easy. It is my choice to what am I feeding my mind? We feed our bodies. What are you feeding your body? Is it healthy? Is it going to be good for you? You know, we have choices. Food. Okay, I can have a cookie, and I do allow myself cookies. But that apple or that cantaloupe might just be even better than that cookie. I have a choice. Every day I take food with me in my car. I have a trolley. I take food wherever I go. Because when I get hungry, if I want something, I have a whole variety pack of things to get. This last week, Monday, I ended up going out, and then I was planning on going home, but I didn't. So I was riding around and doing various things, and I stopped in Sprouts to pick up a few things, and I wanted some chips. I bought some chips, and I ate the whole bag. What a choice. Now, I know myself. That's why I don't do that. See, if I had some air-fried garbanzo beans or some rice cakes and I wanted something crunchy, they're in my bag. I don't have to go and get a bag of chips because I know that for me to choose to put the bag away, it doesn't happen. So I know what happens for me. I want to be making healthy choices about what I eat, what I do. And it's okay to have an occasional chip or two, but can I choose to stop? If not, I might not even want to go there. So we want to make healthy choices. That's the most important thing. Are the choices I'm making healthy? That's what I would like you to ask yourself this week. Is this the healthiest choice? And the first step is just to pay attention to the choices that you're making. Just by paying attention that I'm making a choice here might steer you into a healthier choice. Awareness is number one, right after God's first, right, in the core values. Now, you might think that the everyday choices aren't really a big deal. And the truth is, maybe not. But it is those little choices that we make over time will be what we get as our results. If I chose to eat a cookie every day, or 5 cookies, I would probably see results of that. It's not the occasional cookie. So it's, what am I doing every day? Am I doing prayer? Am I doing meditation? Am I doing some reading out of the daily word? Am I supporting and feeding my mind healthy things so I don't get sucked up into the vortex of negativity or what's going on in our world? I can't do that. It doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for our world. So these are the little choices. But you ever have a big choice? We've all had big choices. The big choices, let's say to quit a job and not have another one lined up. I've done that more times than not, and that's scary. I want to just go from one thing to the other, but to trust, to get into a relationship, to end a relationship, to move to a different state and go to a community that you know no one. These are big choices. And we've all had big choices in our lives. So choices being important, the thing is we sometimes fear right? Making the wrong choice. What if it doesn't work out? I always like to say, what if it does, right? But to look at that we are living so much of our life from a fear factor. And I wonder, what in your life do you have right now that you feel there's a choice that needs to be made, but you're not sure about it, or you're a little bit afraid to make that? And it might not be immediate, but you know that there's a choice coming up in the future. Okay, so we all will have choices to make. And we might sit with that because we might actually have too many choices. And it's overwhelming. So I'm going to give you some tips. Would you like some tips on big choice making? Great. Well, the first thing is you need to know what you would love. Not what somebody else would love, like your spouse or your kids or your mother. Not what they would love, because this is your life. So, to know what you would love and to write down. I would love, and then write it down. And then I want you to write the second part is what I would feel having what I would love. Because it's really not the thing that we want the feeling that we think we're going to get from the thing. So you're going to identify what I would love and the feeling of it. The next part is that you get to pray. And prayer in unity is to affirm, to envision it, to feel what it would feel like to have that thing that you would love. Okay? Because the universe doesn't really doesn't care. Oh, it does care. The universe actually you don't need to know how it's going to happen or how it's going to work out. You get to know the what. My job is to know what it is I would love and trust that the universe knows how to deliver it when I'm engaging in that. And the fifth part, because you've identified it, you've written it down, you've prayed about it. Was there one in between there? No, it was, you can ask others to pray. Prayer chaplains, because sometimes it's hard for us, but that's when you go to a prayer chaplain or to minister and ask them to do the prayer or write down your prayers. And last but not least, list your pros and cons. And this is one way you could do that. Just write down, if I did this, then. If I had that conversation, then what? If I didn't have that conversation, then what? So we want to evaluate and get a sense of, if I did this thing, this is what I foresee happening. Or if I don't do this thing, this is what I foresee. And Spirit is breathing you, knows how to bring everything about. So, you got your first big C. The big C of choice leads you to the second C. Anybody want to guess what it is? Okay, a lot of guesses. It's the big C called commitment. Oh yeah, commitment. Who wants to commit, right? Yeah, that means I might have to do something. Well, yeah, because commitment is the path of action. It is the path of action when you commit to something. Linda Martellowitz says in her book, out of the infinite possibilities, I have chosen one. Okay, you've made your choice. First C. I determine what is mine, and I resolve to follow its calling. Then I commit to it. Commitment places me on a particular path. Commitment leads not to random action, but deliberate, intentional actions. Choosing and following this one path means I do not choose or follow another path. I do not flit from path to path, right? I one-pointedly, wholeheartedly devote myself to this path. So that is what we're going to look at now, is this thing called commitment. It's basically a firm decision, not a wishy-washy. It's a firm decision that I'm going to take a specific course of action. I'm committed. I'm doing this thing. Why are commitments powerful? Because it influences everything you think. When you make a commitment, I am having love in my life. I am having financial freedom. I am financial freedom. I am doing work that I love. I have a healthy body, and I feel better than I've ever felt. So we're making a commitment. What are the actions? And I'll tell you how we do that. But it's all about our mindset first. What you commit to influences how you think, what you say, and what you do. It influences every part of you. And you also will stay the course. When things come up, and you know they will, obstacles always show up. But you look for solutions. You don't quit when you make a commitment. You're in a relationship, you have a rocky time of it, you have an argument. Do you say, well, that's it, I'm done with that? Or do you stay the course? Do you have conversations, see a counselor? What do you do to work on it? Now, I'm going to say one thing about commitments, that they can be changed. I mean, I've been in a relationship where I had a commitment ceremony and such, and after 14 years, it became apparent that we were not necessarily meant to continue in the path of lovers. We were meant to be friends. We actually had a conscious uncoupling ceremony in church with a person who was a ministerial student and a whole script, and we thanked and blessed each other. It's okay to choose again. Choosing and committing are two things that do work together, but you want to give it all you can when you make a commitment. You don't just move off really quickly when something tempts you to give up. It's important, too, not to make too many commitments, okay? Because there's so many things. And the truth is, we cannot commit to everything. It's not feasible to do everything. And so you have to decide, what are you committed to? Part of your homework this week, besides watching your choices and asking if it's healthy, is to, what are my priorities? What am I most committed to? And know that as you dedicate yourself to these 4 things that are the most important to you, then you have a commitment, and then you get to learn how to say no to other things. Do they fall into the commitment? We do things here, it's our core values. Everything that we invite to come into this church follows under those core values. That's how we determine if it's one of those things or it falls into alignment. Then we know we got a map as to how to navigate. And by the way, your commitment means that you follow through. You go, I commit to this and then I don't do anything. It's the path of action. So have you ever tried it or want to start or do something big, but you have not done it? Anybody? Well, I would like to have done that, or maybe you still have something, but you're kind of like, I don't want to commit to that because then I might have to do things. Well, we have things that keep us from making commitments. It usually is fear-based, right? I'm going to share with you a few of the reasons why we choose not to commit, and I want you to think about these in terms of your own life. First one is FOMO. What's FOMO? Fear of missing out, says Karen. That's right. Hey, if I commit to this, then another opportunity could come and I could miss it. Guess what? That's true. But you're never going to move anywhere in life if you don't make a commitment to something that is important to you. So, fear of missing out. Well, do you want to succeed in something or not? The next part is that we're afraid of failure, making a mistake, or what's the other? That's why we have notes. So when you don't remember what it is, it goes, yes. We're afraid of making a mistake. Oh, being wrong. Just being wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be. Thing is, the truth is, life is built from failures. You can't know success without failure. You will have to have failures. In fact, you never really fail. It's just you learn something that didn't work. You try something else. Can you imagine Edison going, well, I give up, this isn't working, 1,000 times. He stayed the course. He goes, well, that didn't work. What's next? Number 3, maybe we're afraid of getting bored. No, not us. But here's the thing. If you're going to be a master in something, you might have to practice something over and over, and it might get to be routine because you're trying to be a master, so you keep doing the same thing over. And we, face it, we like novel experiences, and it might get a little old and boring. And I want something exciting. Anybody here kind of like that? Uh-huh. What's new? What can we do? And you have to have a compelling reason, because when you do get bored, you've got to have a big why you're doing it. You might say that I don't have a time. I'm too busy, right? I can't commit to that. Well, guess what? When you get to the end of your life, will you regret not having gone for something? And here's the thing, time doesn't wait for you. And we ought not wait to make the commitment, okay? And last but not least, we sometimes let the past predict our future, or we let other people's experiences predict our future. Truth is, past is past, and your experience was your experience. I am not going to face my future on what something happened in the past. I'm a new person, and I can start again. So the 3 ways that you can move into commitment is, first of all, you have to make a choice of what's important to you, to pray on it. What is so important that I'm willing to make a commitment to that? You want to write it down, visualize and see it, and last but not least, you want to have somebody who keeps you accountable. You want a support team, because when the going gets tough, I might want to just get going out the door. But if I have a coach or a person who I have accountability partners, and I actually have 3 of them every Thursday morning, this is what I'm committed to doing this week. So we hold ourselves accountable, because I know I can just change my mind like that. I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do it. Anybody? Right? My favorite quote on commitment: until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of creation and initiative, there is one elementary truth: the ignorance of kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment that one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never else would have occurred. A whole stream of events come from your decision to commit, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no person could have dreamt would come their way. So whatever you can do, or dream that you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. I love that. I got the goddess bumps as I was speaking that. So the power of your will, the power of the will means that we use choice for healthy decisions, and we make commitments to something that is really important. Now, I was only going to speak on 2 C's because that's all that Linda Martellowitz has. However, Spirit says, Liz, you got to have another C to make those big decisions, to make those commitments. Anybody guess what it is? You got it. Say that again. Courage. You got to have courage to make the big decisions. You got to have courage to make the commitments that are going to be tough. And here's the thing about courage. It means heart. The cor means heart. And courage means that you act even when you are afraid. It's not courage otherwise. So you're going to have fears. If you don't have fears, then there is no sense. It's not really a commitment or a big choice. It is something smaller. So we want to have courage. And Nelson Mandela says, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he or she who conquers that fear. And last, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting on the premise that there is something more important than fear. Are you ready to step up into the power of your will, to look at your choices, to make healthy choices, and to make commitments and use the courage that is breathing you? What are you choosing? What do you choose today? So it is.